In this VideoNet interview at IBC 2013, I'm speaking with Tessa Spall, who's the Director of Digital at CBC, the Canadian broadcaster. Hello, Tessa.
Hi, John.
Now, in the beyond the last year, you've been doing quite a lot of both experiments and proper shows running with second screen interactivity. So, can you tell us, in terms of uptake and user engagement? I mean, first of all, would you say it's been worth it, and is this a goer as a concept?
Mm-hmm. So, a lot in there. I'll try to unpack it a bit. It started about 2 years ago when we realized that a good portion of our audience is sitting with a device in their lap while they're watching TV, whether it's it's mostly laptops actually, and smartphones and tablets. 60% of our audience, pushing up towards 60%, and they're doing things with those devices too. But they're checking their email, and they're updating Facebook status, and they're paying their bills, which is a great frustration to a content creator and a story maker, because you don't want people to be distracted. Maybe people have always been distracted while they've been watching TV, and now we just can see it because we know that what they're doing. So we wanted to solve a problem. I'm not sure yet whether or not that problem even exists, whether or not people will always be distracted while they're watching TV, but we really did want to experiment over the last couple of years to test to see if we could produce an experience for the audience with that device. To engage them and to do a whole bunch of things. We wanted to test whether or not we could engage viewers in the second screen with content. Obviously, we wanted to see whether or not we could drive viewership into the broadcast from that engagement. We wanted to have a registered user that we could actually talk to between broadcasts. It's a critical component of what we do, is trying to figure out how do we drive discovery of our content between broadcasts, not just during the show. And we also wanted to make it a great produced experience for people to enjoy while they're watching whatever type of program it is. And we tested in a bunch of different genres. So you asked whether or not it was worth it. So in the targeted R&D side of things, absolutely, because we've learned an awful lot about audience behavior with the various experiments that we've done around different genres of programs. Some of them actually did, they came with revenue, didn't cost us anything because they were actually sponsored, including our Hockey Night in Canada app. And some of them, again, it really did, some of them did make money, some of them definitely gave us a lot of learnings around what our audience is doing. I guess is the two major pieces of value that we got out of what we've been doing over the last couple of years. We are continuing on with certain genres. I would say we're still doing a second screen and a scripted program, not Republic of Doyle, which is the one that we did last year. We're doing it with a program called Heartland. It's a very it's our most engaged, socially engaged audience that we have for our programming, and we really want to see whether or not we can again try to drive social discussion around the program while it's on, but then also create a space, create a thing that people could do between the broadcasts. So second screen, but also middle screen, I guess, between the broadcasts. That's a current obsession of mine, is how do we get people talking about our programming, not just when they're on the air, but between, so that they can get more discovered. Okay, so by scripted, do you mean drama in this case? Yes, drama, sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's our term.
So in terms of drama then, I mean, what do you do on the second screen? First of all, you mentioned getting people in between the shows. So what do you do between shows to keep them interested in the app? And then when the show comes around, what do you do on the night with drama? Sure. So with drama, what we're experimenting, we haven't launched this one yet, but it'll be launching in the next month or so. With Heartland, this program, you'll be able to, between the broadcasts, we'll be featuring exclusive content. So you'll be able to come back and we'll have, previews of the next episode, or we'll have, exclusive content that you wouldn't otherwise see anywhere else. You could also watch the episode, if you've missed it, any of the episodes in the series, within the second screen app. So in between the broadcasts, it's not a second screen app at all, it's a first screen app. Right, yes.
And then in the broadcast itself, we're going to be asking fairly conventional things that we've already tested with previous experiments in the second screen space. It's a lot of quizzes. It's a lot of this actor from, very much oriented around the commercial blocks as well, because we know that audiences pick up their device right during the commercial break. We want them to keep them engaged in the content from the first screen while they're doing that, and we also want to demonstrate to potential sponsors that that's a great opportunity for them. I mean, a lot of advertisers would say, wait a second, you're getting them distracted from my ads while you're producing this great content on the second screen. Actually, what we're trying to do is demonstrate that there's a relationship between the first and second screen, and that's a great opportunity for advertisers, because human psychology is we actually know that people retain more and they remember more when they're actually having an associated task with, like, a double associated task. So that's a great opportunity, I would say, for sponsors.
So you're actually synchronising in real time
yes.
on the second screen, so
yes.
you know when the ad breaks come in.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and that's a real conversation you've had with existing advertisers on the main screen, is, you know, hang on a second, this could distract people away from my main screen ad. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you answer that? I
would love to be able to work with advertisers to make that experience during the commercial break, tie it all together. So if we could have an advertiser that wants to reach the Heartland audience, that's a perfect opportunity to do something that somehow reward the audience with something in the commercial break that associates with the brand, so it's a positive experience. I think that's a fantastic opportunity for an advertiser. Not, you know, if we don't do that, then they're going to be distracted, you know, or they're going to go off to the washroom, or they're doing something else. So let's do something in the commercial break that actually ties it all together and rewards the audience and gives them a positive experience with the brand.
Yeah. Do you think that would be new advertising money, or is there a danger that people will start negotiating that into the sort of the main advertising deals?
I'm not sure. It could be both. I don't know. I think that's going to be models that are yet to show themselves, but are going to evolve over the next little bit.
I mean, you mentioned sponsorship, so that's real already. Mm-hmm. So Hockey Night in Canada was sponsored.
Yep.
And I mean, just coming back to scripted drama quickly, I know you spoke before about the idea that people can catch up. I mean, you mentioned yes. the catch-up shows. Yeah. Is there evidence that by allowing people into the show, if you like, after a while, with the sort of extra information about characters and storylines that they may have missed, that people will actually come into a show later and maybe join it and then keep up with the schedule? Absolutely.
So yeah, we want to convert people into intentional viewers. That's one of the other goals that we're trying to do here too. So a long form series, we want to be able to give people the opportunity to come into it if they've missed, you know, the first season or second season or several episodes of a season, give them a way to catch up. So we'll actually try to create, you know, stunts, I guess, to get people to do that. We're a bit like fishing, you know, put the rod out and try to lure people into the program, whether they've, you know, missed the first 3 episodes on schedule. That's no problem at all. We'll give it to you in another way.
I mean, you had a very successful sort of second screen app with reality TV
yes.
as well, which was the Over the Rainbow, where you try and find a new Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, it was about keeping people interested all week. So just very quickly, I mean, with reality, what do you do there? I mean, is it different?
It's absolutely different, and it's that is where we've had some of our greatest success is in reality and in sports as well. So Over the Rainbow, it's a elimination reality program. You know, again with the fishing metaphor, the way to the audience can engage with it is voting, basic principle. But we wanted to do away with things like phone voting, which is pretty passive, and it's not very helpful because we don't really understand anything about the audience that's doing it other than somebody's phoned us and picked that Dorothy. What we wanted to do was create an experience that's really rewarding, fun, and simple, that people had to earn their votes. So during the broadcast, the second screen experience was both an app, a native app environment, and a web-based environment. Both of them were syncing to the broadcast while you were watching it. As each Dorothy performed, a little crystal ball would pop up on your screen and you could measure her performance. And in real time, we collected and aggregated all that data from the audience across our time zones, because we have several in Canada as well. Each time zone had its own version produced for it. So while you're watching that Dorothy perform, audience at home is measuring her performance, and then we shoot the feedback of the audience back in real time onto the screen. So it was really the first time we've ever been able to do that, get to the visualization of the audience into the broadcast across multiple time zones. So that was a great accomplishment for us. It was very complicated to do, but we also wanted to do it to inform what we were going to be doing with the Olympics and also what we were going to be doing with the hockey second screen app afterwards.
Yeah, that time zone thing's interesting. I mean, so you had to know where all the screens were, these second screens, and make sure that they get it in sync with the live feed.
Right. So it was actually the if you were playing along with a native app, it was using an audio cue that inaudible audio cue that the app was listening for, and then throwing content based on where it knew the TV signal was at. In the web, it was more like a timed. Once they'd started, it was going to roll. If they'd paused their television viewing with their PVR or something, then we couldn't accommodate for that. But it was really interesting that so we built this great native app, which is more rich, I guess, and the experience was a bit better. It was very fluid, and it was a richer experience, I would say. Similar content in the web space, but not quite as, it wasn't listening, it wasn't quite, you had to do a little bit more work as the audience. The majority of people stayed in the web space, which I found fascinating. That's one of the biggest learnings that we had was, well, you know, we all think that the app is not a big barrier for people to install or anything. It is. It is actually a big barrier for people to actually do when they switch on the television. They just want to do something easy. And we were telling people to go to the website to get information on how to get the app, and they'd stayed on the website, you know. Okay. So we were quite lucky that we had actually thought at the beginning to do a hybrid model where we'd have native app and web, because we managed to have a great success with great numbers. It was the highest page views of a program like that we'd ever seen. And that was fantastic, but we were disappointed by how few people actually installed the app itself. I
mean, can you say what the split was between the native app and the web page? Or? Approximately.
Sorry, it was probably around 80% web. Okay. Actually, even more than that, probably closer to pushing to 90.
So do you just put that down to inertia? People just really couldn't be bothered to download
I think so. Again, we're going to see a little bit more like with Heartland. We'll see how many people install it. I'm very obsessed with conversion rates, how many people actually, of the broadcast audience, are doing it. With the scripted series that we did last year, Republic of Doyle, it was in and around, it was under 1% of the audience that actually installed the app. And, you know, at first blush, it's like, oh, that's a terribly low number. But at the same time, it was a few thousand people, and they were the most dedicated fans. And so yes, it's small numbers, but it's the equivalent of a focus group, basically, you know. And so you can actually use your second screen to have a very highly informed, engaged superfan audience. Answer some of the questions you have about your narrative, about your story, about your characters, about your cast. Because we did find some really interesting results when we asked people questions about the program and what they thought about the plot line or whatever. The various questions that we asked, we'd get really interesting intelligence back from the audience, the super fans, the highly engaged ones. So I think there's something really promising in that.
So you're using it as a production editorial tool.
And I think that's got profound strength with things like news, you know, or when we're trying to actually do a, you know, audience feedback in the moment piece, and that worked with Over the Rainbow as well. You could do the crystal ball on the web, so we did have a substantial enough audience doing it that I felt comfortable that we're putting it back on the air, and that's what the nation feels that Dorothy's performance is like. You know, it's really hot or not so hot, you know.
So is one of the biggest lessons not to underestimate the laptop and the browser experience?
Yes, absolutely. That was one of the biggest lessons for us, for sure. And that the control room is a bit of a beast. And so that was fantastic that we were able to. You wouldn't associate, you know, a glittery, big, shiny floor show like Over the Rainbow with hockey, but we actually did have sports people come into the control room and sit there and watch and see how, because it's a new role. You're calling, you know, your director's actually having to call feedback from the audience onto TV from, you know, this different channel that they've never had before. So pretty fascinating times and good educational opportunities.
So what would you say are the next steps for CBC and second screen then? So
still plodding along the same course with one scripted series, just to see, can we bump up the audience beyond 1%? I would love to hit 5% conversion rate on our Heartland app experience that we're creating now and launching in the next month, as I said. Definitely staying in the unscripted space, reality programming and sports. More focusing on the web though, less on native app experience for now. Maybe the audience habits will start shifting and people will be much more inclined to follow us. But right now it is a bit of a you know, television's as a sit back passive experience, and we don't want people to have to work at it. It has to be fun, enjoyable, and easy. And we thought that they'd take the extra leap to install the apps, but that hasn't happened so far. We are thinking a lot about should there be one universal app to rule them all. I want to get through the next series of experiments before we can actually land on whether or not that makes any sense, because we have to answer the question of, are people associating directly with the programs, or are they associating with the CBC and want that to be the doorway?
It might solve the inertia problem, presumably. If they've got a big CBC app that gives them lots of things, they might think, well, it's worth downloading.
Yeah. Yeah, so we still, more to come on that. Not sure yet where we're going to land. But
okay, well, we'll watch this space. You can tell us about that next year. And lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you as well. Thanks.